All right, everybody. So, Patrick, can you please introduce yourself? And that can include your name, your major, any applicable minors, as well as your school and your pre-professional track.
Yeah, so pretty much my name is Patrick Liu. I'm a student at the University of Washington, and currently I am an intended informatics major.
All right, and what is your pre-professional track, or what do you tend to do after you graduate?
So I pretty much intend to maybe just go into either a big company or like startups, just working somewhere towards like the information slash cybersecurity field.
Nice. And what made you want to pursue informatics?
So pretty much what made me want to pursue informatics was pretty much first, it started back in high school when I was exposed to computer science, and I kind of just went along with it. But I felt like I just wanted to do something more specific. And then after coming to UW, I found out about the informatics program, and I thought I wanted to go towards this field after looking into it, doing some research.
That sounds really cool. And what made you want to go to UW?
So pretty much, first, I after visiting the place before I committed, I went around and explored the school. I talked to some of the faculty members, the admissions counselors, and I think pretty much they gave me some pretty good insight about how they gave me like options of what I can do like with my major. So that was one thing. I realized with the programs that the University of Washington had, there was a lot that I could do with these opportunities, and plus it's in Seattle with a lot of this technology industry around, which is why, which was another reason that made me want to come here. So yeah, those are mainly the two big reasons: the opportunities in the city and the opportunities that lie inside of the school.
That all sounds really amazing. So I know that you're an out-of-state student. So did you have any fears or concerns when going to UW because it is like really far away from home?
Yeah, so I definitely had a lot of concerns. Mainly, it was wondering how I was going to adapt. I think like mentally, since like going to a new place, not knowing the area can be very overwhelming, along with going into the university setting. So I was the one concern was my mental health, but obviously it got better over time as I got to know the place. Yeah, so yeah, that was my main concern, my mental health.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Mental health is really important and crucial. Do you have any advice for students who are out of state as well and need to get used to a new place and making new friends?
Yes, one thing that I think I would say is it'll all work out in the end. It'll happen naturally. What I realized was like even though at orientation I didn't the friends I made at orientation, I don't really talk too much, but the ones that I met, like just like in the dorms or something, those were like my closest friends. So I think it doesn't matter where you make the friends, but I think like it'll come naturally to you. You'll find your group eventually, and it'll work out in the end. So that was one thing I think new students don't have to worry about since it'll come to them naturally.
Yeah, really great advice. And currently, like, how do you like UW?
Currently, I actually really, really like UW, both the academics and pretty much the extracurriculars. I love going to the gym, playing sports with my friends. I also like pretty much the library. I really like studying there. I think it's a great opportunity for me to both, that allows me to both study by myself or with a group. And yeah, so I really, really like both the academics and extracurriculars of UW, and those are just some examples.
Oh yeah, for sure. What was your experience like living in the dorms your first year? And would you recommend living with like somebody you knew in high school or a complete stranger?
Right. So just a little bit of context. I lived in Haggett, and it was with someone that I didn't know, and I guess living in a dorm, no matter, I think it's a very crucial part, and just like just like developing like your own like a character. I think especially like having your own place without like your parents nagging you to clean up. I think it creates like a sense of it develops your sense of responsibility, and at the same time, whether you're with your high school friends or with someone else, as long as you guys communicate, I think it'll still make you um, it'll it'll definitely strengthen the bond between you two. So I guess it doesn't really matter whether you're dorming with someone you know versus you don't, because in the end, if you just communicate with each other and become better friends, it'll all work out.
All right, that's really great advice. Thank you for sharing that. If you don't mind me asking, what extracurriculars are you currently involved with at the university or intend to be involved in next year?
Right. So there was some clubs that I was looking into, mostly, excuse me, mostly uh, there were two sports club I was a part of this year. It was the Husky Snow Club and the ping pong club, because I used to play that before and I just really like snow sports. But next year I also intend to join maybe the biohacking club, because that's also towards my major. Plus, it sounds fun. So yeah, those that one I was looking into for next year, and the sports clubs, the snow club and the ping pong club, were the two that I was in this year.
All right, thank you for sharing that a little bit. So now we're going to move on to talk more about the college application process. So looking back at it, how did you personally feel about your college application process?
So pretty much um, it was definitely very I wouldn't necessarily say difficult, but it was a very long process. And even though it seemed very daunting in the beginning, I think after I started, it only got better from there, because the more you work on it, the more you have, the better you feel. So of course, like at first, it's very stressful, but as you keep working on it, it's like it'll only keep getting better from there. Just like writing your essays and stuff. But like on the other hand, for entering all your personal information, for example, that was also very tedious. But I understand it's very necessary. So I just recommend taking that part more seriously, and especially for financial aid as well, loans. Make sure to take those parts seriously as well, even though it may seem like very boring stuff. I think that part's very important. So yeah, those are the what I thought about pretty much just writing the essays and pretty much submitting your personal information.
No, yeah, that makes all like completely makes sense. Do you remember how long that entire process took you? And that can include researching colleges and things like that.
Right. So pretty much I started researching my March of my junior year. And around the end of the school year, I figured out that the University of Washington was one of the schools that I was going to apply for. And then pretty much throughout the summer, I just like filled out all the personal information and all. I was like, I wasn't really working on it yet, because I felt like I still had some time. So right when senior year started, around August, September, that's when I started writing the essays, and it took me about a month to pretty much write everything, edit it, and submit it. So yeah, it took me about 3-4 months.
Right. Yeah, that sounds like pretty reasonable. And you mentioned before that you visited the University of Washington before committing to it. Would you recommend visiting college campuses before committing to a university?
I definitely do. Even though like a university may seem like it has your major and all, it has your program. I feel like that's all. Um, you still have to go and check it out, because I feel like the setting of the school, it's like it'll call to you. When I went to the University of Washington versus other campuses, I felt like the UW campus was the one that called to me the most. So I feel like being there, being present at the place, is also a very important factor in deciding whether you'll like it or not for the next 4 years, especially too.
All right, yeah, that totally makes sense, especially like if you're going to a school out of state. And one of the last questions about the college application process is if you could have changed anything looking back at it, what would you change about your college application process?
What would I change? I think um, honestly, I think for me, I feel like I could have stressed a little less about it, honestly. I feel like although it is very important, I feel like the there's a lot of like unnecessary pressure and stress put on it, and I feel like I didn't have to like pull my hair out like over some of the small things that obviously didn't matter as much as I made it. So that was the one thing that I wish I knew, just to like write my essays like myself, as I would myself, and I'm just like taking it, um, approaching it differently in a less like stressful way.
No, yeah, for sure, that makes sense. And
Uh, you
oh,
muted.
sorry, yeah, that makes sense, sorry. And then finally, the last question I have for you is, if you could give advice to any high school students, what would it be? And that can be about college, about applying to UW, or about, like, anything you find applicable.
Right. I think the main thing, just like getting to university, um, the main thing I think is, um, sorry, give me 1 second. I need to think about how to word this. I think it's when you take um, whatever you do, for example, classes, like the classes you take, the extracurriculars you join, whatever job, um, make sure that, um, sorry, one more time, I'm going to rephrase this. So the main thing that my advice that whatever you do, like a class, extracurriculars, jobs, especially whatever you fail in, just remember that it'll only make you a better and more resilient person. So make sure that you take failure and try to, I think, like just try to see it in a positive light. Because I think all of my failures, once I recognized them, it was easier to improve on. So yeah, just make sure that failure, you can use failure to lift yourself up rather than let it get drag you down.
All right, well, that concludes the interview. Thank you so much, Patrick, for letting me interview you.
Mhm. Thank you.